We have the New Orleans Saints taking on the San Francisco 49ers in New Orleans. This is your Week 2, 2025 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe button if you're new. Also hit the like button. Usually I start off with the home team, but we got a lot of breaking news with the away team. So let's start off with the San Francisco 49ers. Last week, they had a tough win over the Seattle Seahawks. They won this matchup 17-13. Brock Purdy had 2 interceptions on the day. He was 26-35, 277 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Brock Purdy is questionable right now to play in this matchup against the New Orleans Saints. Over an hour ago, Kyle Shanahan came out and he said that it would be a long shot for him to play in this matchup. He is not scheduled to practice Wednesday or Thursday, so be on lookout for that. If Brock Purdy is able to play, that would be great for the San Francisco 49ers. If he's not able to play, they'll have to go with Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones has been a starter before in the NFL. His first year with the New England Patriots, they made the NFL playoffs. From that point on, he wasn't a good quarterback with the Patriots. A lot of that is because they had a defensive coordinator calling offensive plays and Matt Patricia. Last year, he played for majority of the season with the Jacksonville Jaguars when Trevor Lawrence went down with that shoulder injury. He has some up and down moments. And this matchup against the New Orleans Saints, if Brock Purdy is not able to play, you have to prioritize running the football and running this offense through Christian McCaffrey, and the same with Brian Robinson Jr. But it's a problem here. Christian McCaffrey, last week, he had 22 carries, 69 rushing yards. He averaged 3.1 yards a carry. The longest rush of the day went for 13 yards. It's important to bring this up. Christian McCaffrey has missed some time in the past, was dealing with Achilles tendonitis issue at the beginning of last season, and he tore his PCL. He didn't have the same juice last week. He's still working some of that rust off, but he is still one of the best running backs to have in the game. He also had 9 catches for 73 receiving yards. They need to run this offense through Christian McCaffrey if Brock Purdy's not fully healthy. He has to be that number 2 wide receiver, and he has to be that main running back coming out of the backfield. Brian Robinson Jr. is not a bad running back to have. He doesn't have the juice and he doesn't have the versatility of a Christian McCaffrey. So you may have Christian McCaffrey go out there in certain sets to where he's primarily a wide receiver inside the slot. And we've seen the Carolina Panthers do this before in the past with Christian McCaffrey, and the same with Kyle Shanahan when Jimmy Garoppolo was a starting quarterback at that point in time. Lean on Christian McCaffrey in this matchup, and the same with Brian Robinson Jr. And this is the one weird thing, and this is a compliment to Kyle Shanahan and to his dad, Mike Shanahan. They have great run systems. No matter who the running back is in the backfield, they always produce very good numbers because the scheme is very running back friendly. So you have to find a way to run the football on the New Orleans Saints. The problem is this. Last week, Brandon Staley did a phenomenal job against James Conner in that run game of the Arizona Cardinals. So be on lookout for that. Mac Jones, he can make some throws, but you don't want him to have over 30 pass attempts in this matchup against New Orleans Saints because this is a tough defense to go against. And when you look at the 49ers, outside the running backs here, they don't have those dynamic weapons on the outside. Ricky Pearsall was phenomenal last week. He was easily their best wide receiver. He had 4 catches, 108 receiving yards. Outside of him and Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk was the leading wide receiver, and that's your fullback. He had 2 catches, 32 receiving yards. You may ask yourself, where's George Kittle? George Kittle had a receiving touchdown last week. He's on IR right now dealing with a hamstring injury. You're already without Brandon Ayuk for the next month. He's still recovering from the knee injury that he suffered against Kansas City last year at the beginning of the season. So you're very thin at the wide receiving position. You are bringing in Kendrick Bourne. He was a very good wide receiver a few years ago with the 49ers. The Patriots just released him a few weeks ago. You can lean on those wide receivers, but I would not cook up many deep shots in this matchup if I am Kyle Shanahan. Be conservative with those play calls. Make sure that you can manage the game. If you are Mac Jones, you cannot put your team in a tough situation. You have to go out there and you have to make sure that you stay on schedule over and over again. And one thing that's important to bring up, there was a lot of rumors at this point in time with the NFL draft many years ago when they selected Trey Lance. There were reports that came out that Kyle Shanahan really liked Mac Jones coming out of college. So if you have a system in play for Mac Jones, you lean on that. But Christian McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, Kendrick Bourne, they have to be the go-to players in this matchup. And George Kittle was such a phenomenal tight end. as being a receiver, that we forget that he's one of the best blocking tight ends as well. So your run game may take a step back. The run blocking did not look the same last week when he exited the game with that hamstring injury. Just be on lookout for that against this Saints team. But I do believe that Kyle Shanahan will have the right routes. All Mac Jones has to do is get the football out quick and make the right read to these weapons. As far as the wide receivers here in space, if Kendrick Bourne can go out there and he can create some yards after the catch, he can make some defenders miss, that would be amazing. Comes down to offensive line protection, sure. But you have Trent Williams out there, who is still one of the best left tackles in the game. Lean on your best playmakers that you have available and try to get this game over with as quick as possible if you are Kyle Shanahan. You don't want to put that much pressure on Mac Jones. And speaking of him being a game manager, the defense last week with the 49ers, it was amazing. They stopped the run game with the Seattle Seahawks. And a lot of that is because Robert Saleh is back as a defensive coordinator. When you go against a young quarterback and Spencer Rattler, he has a veteran piece alongside him in Alvin Kamara. You make Alvin Kamara a non-factor in this matchup. You make Spencer Rattler's life hell. Early on, Spencer Rattler had some shaky moments. Towards the end of the game, he did look better. You want to put that pressure on him as much as possible. Nick Bosa is still one of the best defensive players in the game. Mikael Williams is a strong edge rusher to have coming out of college. It's the reason why you selected him in the first round. Mikael Williams last week, he had one solid tackle. That was it. And I look for him to have a big-time game in this matchup. The one sore spot with the New Orleans Saints and their offensive line is the interior, with Trevor Penning, who is an experiment left guard, and Cesar Ruiz, who hasn't been good as of late. If you can generate a lot of pressure with a bunch of different twists and stunts up front, it can make life hard on Spencer Rattler. And you can play more man coverage on the back end of this defense. You do have some key wide receivers to look out for in this game. Rashid Shaheed can take the top off this defense, and the same with Chris Olave. So if you're not careful and they get those deep shots down the field, it may put the San Francisco 49ers behind the 8 ball. And that's what you don't want to happen in this matchup. That means that you are forcing Mac Jones to go out there and try to keep pace with the opposing offense. Play this game through your running back and through your defense, and you should be fine. But key names to look out for would be Jordan Elliott, defensive tackle. The same with Alfred Collins, Mikael Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, who is one of the best linebackers in the game, Lenore on the back end of this defense, and the same with Renardo Green. But I was very impressed last week with how the Seattle Seahawks were not able to go out there and run the football and how they look one-dimensional for majority of the game. And a lot of that is because of Robert Saleh and how great of a defensive mind that he was. And it came down to a couple missed kicks as well with the San Francisco 49ers kicker. They just released their kicker. They selected him in the 3rd round. He was a terrible kicker, even dating back to last year. So be on lookout for Eddie Pinheiro, who they're bringing in to their active roster. We'll see if he can be a better kicker. And every single point will matter in this game because you are dealing with a bunch of backups at the wide receiving position and at the quarterback position as well. But the 49ers, they still have a shot because you have elite coaching with Kyle Shanahan and with Robert Saleh. Now let's talk about Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints. They lost last week against the Arizona Cardinals 20-13, but it wasn't this terrible matchup. Spencer Rattler was 27 of 46 on the day, 214 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, and this is the most important stat, 0 interceptions. Spencer Rattler ran the offense very well. Early on, it was some up and down moments, but towards the end of the game, he did perform better. They need to give Alvin Kamara the football more in this matchup. The man had 11 carries last week for 45 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. The longest rush of the day went for 18 yards. And I understand, and this can be said for both teams here, or for any team in the NFL. If the run game is stagnating, obviously you're going to try to go out there and come up with better concepts. You're going to throw the football more because you have to advance the ball down the field. But with so many times last week to where they just abandoned the run and just put all the pressure on Spencer Rattler, you cannot do it in this matchup against Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh loves to go against young quarterbacks. He will send in that blitz and he will overwhelm them. It is up to Kellen Moore to take that pressure off of Spencer Rattler. And that's going to be a key matchup to watch out for. Also, is Spencer Rattler going against this defensive front. But Kellen Moore and that chess piece of an offense that he has going against Robert Saleh. Everywhere Kellen Moore has been, he's been a successful offensive coordinator. But can he alleviate some of that pressure off of Spencer Rattler in this matchup. Lean on Alvin Kamara, and you can take those swing passes out of the backfield and substitute that for a run game if things are not working out in your favor. Spencer Rattler had 4 carries last week for 29 rushing yards. Get other running backs involved as well. The one thing that I hate to see last week was Cesar Ruiz. He constantly was getting kicked back in Spencer Rattler's lap over and over again. He needs to be better in this matchup, and that hasn't been brought up enough with the New Orleans Saints. Eric McCoy, he's a very good center. Talasay Fuaga, there's a lot of upside there at the right tackle position, and he's questionable for this matchup. This is a man that was dealing with a knee injury last week. He had to exit the game. But Talasay Fuaga, if he's able to play in this matchup, that's amazing. And the same with Kevin Banks. There's a lot of upside with him, and he's a rookie. But this offensive front, they need to give Spencer Rattler more time in the interior, especially if they're running different twists and different stunts up front, because if you can't, it is hard for a quarterback to step up inside the pocket. But Kellen Moore has done a very good job of scheming up protection in the pass and getting the football out quick on some very easy reads for Spencer Rattler. Do that again in this matchup. You want to manage the game and run the offense. Turnovers are key here for both teams, but especially for the New Orleans Saints, because you are the healthier team over the 49ers. You have Chris Olave, who is a true number 1 wide receiver. He got lit up a couple of times last week. It was one play in particular to where he catches the football. Here comes Will Johnson. He lays him out. Chris Olave has 7 catches, 54 receiving yards. You can get him more involved. He had 13 targets. The leading wide receiver on the day was Juwan Johnson. That's the safety blanket right now for Spencer Rattler. Whenever things got rough for Spencer Rattler, he would go out there, he'll look for Juwan Johnson. He had 8 catches, 76 receiving yards. Get him involved early on. Rashid Shaheed, 6 catches, 33 receiving yards. I was a bit underwhelmed by Rashid Shaheed last week. He's one of the best deep threats in football, but he did do his job at certain points in times last week. It's not always about hitting those splash plays. When you are a deep threat, you can be a decoy sometimes. You can just be eye candy on the offensive end. If you take away that safety and that cornerback with you, if you're in double coverage, then underneath, Juwan Johnson is there. Chris Olave is there. So those 3 to 4 yards, that can go a long way in this matchup in terms of taking that pressure off a Rattler in this game. You have other wide receivers that you could possibly depend on. Brandon Cooks, 3 catches, 26 receiving yards. He's definitely not the same Brandon Cooks that he once was with the New Orleans Saints early on in terms of going out there and taking the top off the defense and being that true number 1. But as a number 3, he's solid. Even as a number 4, you may want to bring in Devon Vile, who did have 1 catch for 13 receiving yards last week. But the main point here for the Saints in this matchup, manage that game and run the offense if you are Spencer Rattler, and let your playmakers make plays in space. You can be aggressive towards the end of the game, but play through your defense in this matchup the same way with the 49ers because you have a young team. You could take more risk, in my opinion, over the 49ers because you are the healthier team, but be careful with doing that. Now let's talk about the defense here for New Orleans. They were getting to Kyler Murray at a consistent rate towards the end of the game. He got sacked 5 times. The pass rush is definitely there. Brandon Staley had a very good game plan last week against Kyler Murray in the run game. Kyler Murray only had 163 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. The leading wide receiver was Marvin Harrison Jr. He has 71 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. The wide receiving position is banged up right now with the 49ers. You take away Ricky Pearsall. You take away Kendrick Bourne, who Mac Jones has a very good connection with because he played with him with the New England Patriots. You want to force Mac Jones off that first read every single time. Force him to hold on to the football. So you can have Brian Bresee, Demario Davis, and Carl Granderson possibly get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. Now, Demario Davis is a very interesting linebacker. He's a do-it-all linebacker. He can rush the passer. He can cover Christian McCaffrey out the backfield. He can cover the tight end as well. Since this is a banged-up 49ers team, you can be more aggressive on the defensive end over and over again. And Kyle Shanahan, he knows the system with Brandon Staley, but Brandon Staley knows his system as well. Brandon Staley is the former defensive coordinator many years ago with the Los Angeles Rams. They all come from that Kyle Shanahan tree. I trust that the rushing defense would be spot on in this game because that should be the clear game plan for the Saints here. We're going to take away that run game of Christian McCaffrey. We're going to make him a non-factor. Go out there and you put roll coverage on someone like Ricky Pearsall and make those other wide receivers to beat you over and over again. But the first thing to do in this matchup, McCaffrey, after that, take away that first read with Mac Jones. And Mac Jones has sneaky athleticism. He's not a great athlete, but he'll have a couple plays that make you scratch your head. And we've seen this with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the same with the Patriots. You don't have to put up a spy in this matchup, but just be on the lookout for him moving inside and outside the pocket because he has shown some flashes of having very good mobility in certain situations. But put that pressure on Mac Jones. Key players to watch out for in this matchup would be someone like Chase Young. He missed last week's game dealing with an injury. If he's not able to play, that's fine. It's not ideal, but you still have Carl Granderson. You have Brian Bresee and Cameron Jordan. You have Kool-Aid McKinstry at the cornerback position. Justin Reed, who's a very good safety to still have. He can cover those tight ends. He can cover the running back out of the backfield, and you can blitz him from certain angles on the field. And you have Alontae Taylor. The secondary is strong here with the Saints, and the rushing defense will be there as well. I like the coaching staff and the continuity with the 49ers, but they have so many injuries. And I still believe that the San Francisco 49ers are a very good football team in the NFC. But this is a game that the Saints should win. All the injuries that the 49ers are dealing with. And I respect Kellen Moore as an offensive mind. I love the way that he managed the game in certain spots last week. He is a first-year head coach. And you have Brandon Staley as a DC. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints to win this matchup and have the Saints win this game 23-20. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game? The San Francisco 49ers or the New Orleans Saints? And it really comes down to this. I have more faith in Spencer Rattler not turning the football over and having a bad game over Mac Jones. And I know with the right play calling in the past with Josh McDaniels, made the NFL playoffs his first year. But we saw him last year with the Jaguars. Solid weapons on the outside. He still had those moments to where he's like a deer in headlights. The 2 interceptions in a game. We'll see how he looks with Kyle Shanahan in this matchup. And I do want to bring this up, and this is a very important note. The most important part of this video, it is National Suicide Prevention Month. You're never alone. 988 is the suicide prevention line. This is something that doesn't get talked about enough. We always go out there and talk about other things during the month. We have all these national days, but this is very serious. If you're going through anything personal, you're never alone. And I say this in every single video. I want each and every last one of you guys to stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for giving me your time and watching my video. God bless every single last one of you guys. Peace.